You're in the kitchen at someone's party, cleaning up cups that aren't yours. Everyone else is laughing in the living room. No one notices you're gone. And you realize this is the third time this month you've been the one cleaning up while everyone else has fun. There's this moment that happened to me last year that I can't stop thinking about. My friend Sarah called. She was moving apartments. Again, 4th place in 3 years. And before she even asked, I heard myself saying, "Yeah, of course I'll help." I showed up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, carried boxes down 3 flights of stairs. I drove my car back and forth, bought pizza for everyone. We finished around 7 p.m. My back was screaming. Sarah hugged me and said, "You're literally the best." And I went home feeling empty. Because here's the thing, 2 months earlier, I'd asked her to help me move one piece of furniture, just one. She said she was busy. And I'd said, "Oh no, totally fine, no worries at all." I hired movers instead. It cost me $200, never mentioned it again. Sitting in my apartment that night, muscles aching, I had this thought I'd been avoiding for years. When's the last time someone showed up for me the way I show up for everyone else? That question broke something open. Or maybe it finally let me see something that had been broken all along. Let me tell you about 5 things you think are kindness. Things you've been doing your whole life, believing they make you a good person, but they're actually teaching people that you don't matter. And the worst part? You've gotten so good at them that you don't even notice you're doing it anymore. The first one, you already know this one because you probably did it today. You apologize for existing. Last week I watched someone step on a woman's foot on the subway, full weight, right on her toe. And you know what she said? "Oh, I'm sorry." She apologized to the person who hurt her. He didn't even look up from his phone. I see this constantly now that I'm paying attention. Someone bumps into you, you say sorry. Someone interrupts you mid-sentence. "Sorry, I'll finish." Someone doesn't respond to your email. Sorry to bother you again. You apologize for taking up space, for having needs, for existing in a way that might inconvenience anyone for even a second. And every time you do this, something happens. The other person stands a little straighter. They feel a little more certain, because you just gave them something. Permission to matter more than you. You drew the hierarchy, and you put yourself at the bottom. Your brain is listening to this, by the way. Every time you apologize for nothing, you're reinforcing a neural pathway that says, "My presence requires justification." You're literally training yourself to believe that being you is something you should be sorry for. But it's not just internal. Watch what happens with people over time, the ones you apologize to most. They start treating you like someone who should apologize. They expect it. They interrupt more. They cancel plans more easily. They forget to respond to your messages because you taught them that your boundaries are soft, your time is flexible, and your feelings are negotiable. I had this friend in college. I apologized to her constantly, for everything, and I noticed that she never apologized to me. Not when she was late, not when she forgot my birthday, not when she borrowed money and took months to pay it back. I used to think she was just inconsiderate, but now I realize I trained her. I taught her that I was the kind of person who absorbed inconvenience. So she stopped feeling bad about inconveniencing me. The second thing you're doing is you're always available. Always. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. You're finally in bed. Your phone lights up. It's your friend who just needs to talk for a sec. You're exhausted. You have that thing in the morning. Your body is screaming for sleep, but you answer, because that's what good friends do. An hour later, they feel better. They say goodnight, and you're lying there, wired, knowing tomorrow is going to be hell. Knowing that if the situation was reversed, if you texted them at midnight, they'd probably respond the next morning with, "Sorry, was asleep. What's up? Here's what I've learned. When you're always available, you're teaching people that your time has no value, not because they're bad people, but because humans are simple. We value what's scarce. We respect what costs something. When your attention is always free, always instant, always guaranteed, it becomes like air, necessary but invisible. People stop thinking about it. They just expect it. Think about the people you respect most in your life. Are they always available? Or do they have boundaries that make their time feel worth something? Does that make you prepare what you want to say? Think about whether it's urgent and consider their schedule. I used to be that person everyone could call at 2 a.m. I was proud of it. I thought it made me a good friend. Then I noticed something. Those same people didn't pick up when I called at 2 p.m. And when I really needed someone, when my dad was in the hospital and I was falling apart, half of them didn't even respond to my texts for days. That's when it clicked. Being always available doesn't make people value you more. It makes them forget you have a life they're interrupting. The third one is sneaky because it feels so much like love. You help people who didn't ask for help. You see someone struggling with something and you can't stop yourself. You jump in, you take over, you fix it, and you tell yourself it's because you care, because you know, because it's faster if you just do it. But watch their face when you do this. Really watch. There's this moment, right when you take over, where something shifts. It's not gratitude. It's something else. Something that looks like shame or resentment or both. I did this with my younger brother for years. He'd be figuring something out, how to write a resume, how to fix his car, how to handle a difficult conversation, and I'd swoop in with answers. Detailed instructions, offers to just do it for him. I thought I was being helpful. I thought I was being a good sister. Then one day, he snapped at me. We were at dinner, and he was talking about a problem at work, and I started giving him this whole strategy, and he cut me off and said, I wasn't asking for your advice. I was just telling you what happened. It stung. But he was right. I'd been doing this our whole lives, treating him like he couldn't handle things, stealing his chance to figure it out, making myself feel important by making him feel small. And here's the really uncomfortable part. When you help people who didn't ask for help, it's usually not about them. It's about you. It's about needing to feel needed. It's about the anxiety that whispers, if you're not useful, you're not worth keeping around. So you create problems to solve. You see struggles that might not even exist. You make yourself indispensable because you're terrified of being dispensable. People feel this, maybe not consciously, but they feel the weight of your need underneath the help, and it makes them pull away. Because help that comes with strings, even invisible ones, doesn't feel like help. It feels like debt. But the fourth one? This one hits different. This is the one that actually makes me angry now that I see it. You laugh when people disrespect you. Someone makes a joke at your expense. Everyone's looking. Your stomach drops. Your face gets hot. And you laugh. You laugh big and loud. And you make sure everyone knows you can take a joke. Because the alternative, saying that's not funny, or just going quiet, feels like social suicide. I remember this moment so clearly. I was at a work dinner. There were maybe 8 of us. My coworker made this comment about how I was still single and how I must be too picky, and everyone laughed. And I laughed too. I made a self-deprecating joke to keep it going. I did the emotional labor of making my own humiliation comfortable for everyone at that table. I drove home that night with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I felt sick, not because of what he said, but because I laughed, because I betrayed myself, because I chose everyone else's comfort over my own dignity. Your nervous system knows the difference, by the way. When someone hurts you and you pretend it's fine, your body registers it as betrayal, not from them, from you. And everyone watching learns something. This person is a safe target. You can push further next time. They'll absorb it. And you do. You absorb so much that you don't even know you're doing it anymore. Someone talks over you in meetings, and you go quiet. Someone takes credit for your idea, and you say nothing. Someone cancels plans last minute for the third time. You text back, "No worries," with a smiley face, while your chest tightens with something you can't quite name. The fifth thing is the quietest, but it's everywhere once you notice it. You explain yourself constantly. Someone asks why you ordered a salad, and you launch into this whole thing about how you had a big lunch, and you're actually not that hungry, and you're trying to eat lighter in the evenings, and they stopped listening 30 seconds ago. But you're still going, still justifying your right to order a salad. Why did you leave the party early? Why don't you drink? Why are you taking a class? Why do you need a day off? Why do you say no to something? Every choice becomes a dissertation defense. Every preference requires evidence. And here's the thing about over-explaining. It makes you look guilty. Innocent people state their position and move on. I wanted to leave early. Full stop. But you've been conditioned to believe that your wants aren't enough. You need to build a case for your right to have preferences. I used to do this constantly. Someone would question any small decision, and I'd scramble to justify it. Why didn't you come to the thing? And I'd provide this elaborate explanation instead of just saying, I wasn't feeling it. Like I needed permission. Like my choices were up for debate. The more you explain, the more people learn that your boundaries are negotiable. That if they question you enough, you'll eventually cave, or at least exhaust yourself trying to convince them you have the right to make decisions about your own life. If you're doing these things, you probably feel it in your body. You're tired all the time, even after sleeping. You replay conversations for hours, analyzing what you did wrong. You feel lonely in rooms full of people. You notice that friends come to you when they need something, but seem busy when you need them. You cancel plans because you're too exhausted to perform anymore. You feel guilty for having needs. These aren't just feelings. This is your nervous system sending up flares. Something is wrong. The math isn't mathing. You're giving everything and receiving scraps and calling it friendship, calling it love, calling it being a good person. But here's what changed everything for me. Understanding where this comes from. Not to excuse it, just to see it clearly. Somewhere, probably when you were young, you learned that your value was conditional. Maybe you had a parent who was overwhelmed and needed you to be easy. Maybe you had a sibling who got all the attention and you learned to stay small. Maybe you were bullied and figured out that being useful kept you safe. Maybe you grew up in chaos and learned that managing everyone else's emotions was how you survived. So, you adapted. You became the helper, the accommodator, the one who never makes waves. And it worked. It got you something that looked like love, or at least something that looked like belonging. But strategies that keep you safe at 8 years old destroy you at 38. What protected you then is suffocating you now. So here's what I'm testing. Small things. Things that won't blow up your life but might crack it open just enough to let some light in. First, I'm pausing before I apologize. 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, I ask myself, did I actually do something wrong? If the answer is no, I try something else. Excuse me, instead of, I'm sorry. Or sometimes nothing at all. Just letting the moment be what it is. It feels wrong every time. My throat closes up, but I'm doing it anyway. Second, I'm delaying responses. Someone texts needing something, and I wait. Not days, just until it works for me. An hour, 2 hours, the morning, if it comes at night. And you know what's wild? Most people don't even notice. The ones who get upset about a 2-hour delay are showing me exactly why I needed this boundary. Third, I'm using this sentence, I'm not available for that. That's it. Not, I'm so sorry, but I have this thing and I really wish I could, but just, I'm not available for that. Sometimes I add, but I trust you'll figure it out. Sometimes I don't. I said this to my friend Marcus last month. He called, asking me to help him with something he'd asked me to help with 3 times before. Something he could easily Google or hire someone for. And I said, I'm not available for that. The silence on the phone was deafening, but I didn't fill it. I just waited. And he said, oh, okay, no problem. And we moved on. And our friendship didn't end. The world didn't collapse. He figured it out. And something in me shifted. These aren't big, dramatic changes. I'm not burning my life down. I'm just making tiny adjustments. Small moments where I choose my own comfort over someone else's convenience. Where I let people feel the natural consequences of their choices, instead of rescuing them. Where I stop auditioning for worthiness and start assuming I already have it. It doesn't feel like kindness yet. It feels selfish and cold and wrong. That's old programming. The part that I learn my needs matter less than everyone else's. But I'm starting to wonder if real kindness is supposed to include me too. If generosity that destroys the giver isn't actually generosity at all. Remember that party? Standing in the kitchen, cleaning up cups that aren't mine. I was at another party last weekend. The same thing started happening. Everyone is in the living room, mess is piling up, and I caught myself walking toward the kitchen. I stopped. I stood there for a second, and then I walked back to the living room and sat down with everyone else. The cups stayed dirty. Someone else eventually cleaned them up. The world didn't end, and I got to be at the party instead of serving it. That's the thing I'm learning. I've spent my whole life holding doors open for other people while forgetting to walk through them myself, making space for everyone else while claiming none for me, and calling it virtue when it was really just fear that if I stopped being useful, I'd stop being wanted. But what if I walk through first, not shoving people aside, just going first, claiming my right to exist, to matter, to take up space, and then, from a place of actually having something to give, instead of running on empty, I held the door open behind me, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but because I chose to. That's the kind of kindness that might actually mean something. The kind that doesn't cost me everything. The kind where people value me, not because I'm useful, but because I'm here. So tell me something. Which one of these have you been doing, and who taught you that you had to?